We've got a lot of weather impacts coming. Long duration wet pattern is really what we're set up for after today. Now, as I am here on a Thursday, we're still undergoing a relatively normal day around here. In other words, we've got temperatures that are going to be in the 50s. We've had some fog in the morning, but it's going to be a clear and dry day. Now, I always like to start right off at the top to try and understand where we are at the moment. We are literally in one of the top 10 driest Januaries we've ever had. And obviously that's the case for Southern California. But even here at home, we've been slipping farther and farther behind. Our normally wet pattern just off to the north of us has also had moments of dryness as well. So in La Nina, that's what you typically see. We roughly have seen that pattern with either above normal or about average precipitation so far for the early season. And then obviously very, very dry with all the impacts that we saw with a long-lasting and extreme fire season for Southern California, although they did get some rain recently. So you saw that La Nina pattern earlier. It's clearly showing up in the data so far this year. But remember, we still have a couple more months of prime rainy season, and we need that time because even though we've seen some rain in the bucket, that looks nice. Southern California did get some rain, which of course is very welcome. When you compare it to average, everybody is way behind average by several inches. And Redding and Eureka, which started off with a blockbuster atmospheric river, even they are slipping farther and farther behind. Now, all these numbers are going to change fairly dramatically, especially for Northern California, because we have a series of very wet storms on the way. By the way, when you're looking at the lack of rain so far in some areas, you really have to understand that statewide, when you add up all the big federal, state, and local reservoirs, we are above average. There is plenty of water in the system as of right now, and we're only going to add to it. So now we've flipped the switch. Instead of just talking about general weather impacts, we are now in a period warning you about weather impact alert days. And by the way, I'm just talking about 2 right now. We are very likely going to extend that through the rest of the weekend and into next week. But we're going to have a discussion here in a little bit, the weather team, and figure out exactly how far we want to talk about it, because we've still got rain and snow Sunday all the way into next week. But with that said, today is our Thursday dry and seasonal day. No big deal. We've got wet weather arriving tomorrow, and it really is a pattern. Now, there is some uncertainty about the weekend rain totals because there's some fluctuation. But the more and more that we look at this, we are, number one, solid on the fact that this is going to happen. We are looking at rain and snow and wind. And between the range of possibilities, on the lower side of rain and snow, which yesterday we were talking about ½ an inch to about an inch, to the high side about maybe 3 to 4 inches, we're moving more toward the high end of this because this is what's happening. We've got our atmospheric river. This is when you have a huge area of low pressure and it's tapping in some really wet air. You can track this one all the way back to Hawaii. And it is going to bring in some warmer air during the day on Saturday and part of Sunday as it draws in some warmer air from the south from southerly winds. But these are the wettest storms that you get around here because it's really tapped into wet air. Once that moves south of our region, then we're going to enter a dry period, and we may be looking at some of this coming back later on. I'll show you the really far extended forecast. Now, Brendan Minchef has been here all week. I've been out a little bit at a weather conference in Tahoe. But what you need to know is that he's been tracking where this has been going as far as the computer models settling in on the pinpointing of the direct hit of these atmospheric rivers. There's going to be a Category 3 atmospheric river and then also a Category 2. With that said, this is mostly centered off to the north with recent model runs. And then the very most recent runs, it's actually bringing it closer down toward the Bay Area, Stockton, Sacramento, the foothills, and Tahoe as well. By the way, atmospheric river at level 3, there's 5 levels. That's going to be for the middle of the valley as well as the foothills. It actually rates out to a 4, potentially closer to the Bay Area. So this is going to be an atmospheric river situation where it's all-day rain, heavy snow. We really start to get the ground saturated, a lot of runoff, and then potentially over the next few days, creeks and streams running very high, and then eventually the big rivers like the Cosumnes and the Sacramento, they're going to be coming up at least 10 feet by the time we get to Sunday, Monday. So here's our current situation. High pressure right there on top of us. We've had this for far too long. Now this storm is way too big. It has to be dealt with, and that's going to be starting tomorrow. By the way, there's a couple different areas of low pressure that have developed because all this cold air that's been diving down. Just so you know how extreme this weather pattern change is at the moment, what's sort of driving it is that we have a winter storm warning today and tomorrow for the tops of Mauna Loa and Mauna Kea. Now, these are very tall volcanoes. They're 11,000 feet and I think even a little bit higher. I'm not clear on that at the moment, but they're well above 10,000 feet and they're expecting 1 to 2 feet of snow until Saturday morning. So that's a lot of cold air, a lot of weird, wonky weather patterns with the jet stream. And that's why we're seeing things go from nice area of high pressure and settled weather for weeks on end to what we're going to be going through, rapid transition to stormy weather with rain, snow, and wind. I want to pause it here on the wind here for 1 second. The wind I would watch on Saturday evening, and the reason why is that it's going to be after essentially 2 days of rain. The ground level, at least the surface, will be saturated. We'll have to see how far down it goes. But when you throw in 30-mile-per-hour wind gusts and even stronger at times, that's usually when you start to see tree limbs come down. And occasionally, it just depends on the tree and the ground situation itself. We could be looking at power outages. I think this may be even more likely once we really start to see the storm ramp up with rain and wind for the higher elevations, because this is a weird upside-down storm. For example, a normal storm it will be warmer in the day, and then at night it gets colder. So in other words, your snow level might come up during the day and then come down at night. This one is different. There's your fog from earlier in the morning, clouds. This begins Friday morning, which is tomorrow morning, with light to moderate valley rain, moderate Sierra snow. That's going to be the case through the course of Friday. Saturday night, it reboots. Saturday morning, it all comes back. And this is the day where it's raining all day long. It's snow in the beginning. Then watch what happens here. Now we're talking midnight. So this is between Saturday and Sunday. This is heavy rain to the mountain passes and even a little bit above. Now, there's some passes that are open. 88 has a few spots where it's above 8,000 feet. But the bottom line is it's right around 8,000 feet. We're looking at mostly pass level rain, definitely rain at lake level for Tahoe and other spots. And this is going to be ongoing through the day on Sunday. Now, the snow level does come down to about 7,000 feet during the day on Sunday, but this is a warm storm with a lot of moisture coming in. I paused it for the first part, which is Friday to Saturday. That's decent. That's about an inch or so of valley rain, maybe 2 to 4 for some of the Sierra, but between Saturday and Sunday, okay, well, now we're talking, this is a whole different level of a lot of water moving into the system, and then we're pushing 2 to 4 inches of valley rain between Friday and Monday, and 5 to 8 to about 7,000 feet, above 7,000 feet, several feet of snow. And when we add in the next system, which is Tuesday to Wednesday, there's going to be even more. So at the moment, we are fairly settled on, for sure, Friday and Saturday. Very likely the weather impact alert days will extend beyond that into next week. We're talking about heavy rain. You see some of the totals there. And we're going to have some localized street flooding. Driving's going to be terrible. Lots of crashes. Watch out for that. Power outages because of the wind on saturated ground situation. So there's just a lot of things you need to pay attention to. Going out past the 10-day forecast, it looks like we're still hanging on to this version of our winter pattern coming back. Colder than normal and likely wetter than normal right in our area. Remember when I talked about La Nina right off the top? Wetter than normal Pacific Northwest or so. Drier than normal in Southern California and the desert Southwest. So we are seeing that emerge over the next week or two. Our local 7 to 10-day forecast has it loaded up with rain chances starting on Friday all the way till about Wednesday. Then we ease up going into next weekend. So pay attention each and every day. There'll be changes. There'll be alterations. There'll be different impacts each and every day. That's why you got to keep watching the forecast. Finally, I want to end with this. This is a Thursday. Some of you may have plans to spend time in the Sierra, skiing, tubing, or just hanging out. Where you live there, this is what you should know. We are behind everywhere in every region for the Northern Sierra, the Central, the Southern Sierra. We're behind for average to date. And then obviously we're really watching this number because each and every day we're getting closer and closer to that April 1st average number where we really need this to be at 100% or so to consider ourselves having a normal snowpack before we go into the warmer months of spring and then obviously summer. We're okay in that category. We're about two-thirds of where we should be, but this absolutely is going to add a lot of water to the system and it's going to help out our situation, not hurt us at all. The other thing to think about for making plans, if you're traveling today on Thursday, no issues. I was just up there the last several days. Roads are good. Everything's looking pretty good. A little bit icy in the morning, but it's not too bad. Starting on Friday, we are expecting chain control to pop up at some point during the day on Friday, and it's going to be possible all weekend long. The only period I'm not clear about is between Saturday and Sunday with the rain on snow. It might actually melt some of the freshly fallen snow for a little bit, but we will have to watch it. In other words, before you leave on Friday, make sure your vehicle is equipped four-wheel drive with snow tires, or at least mud and snow. And then if you don't, make sure you have chains and keep them with you the whole time, because round one between Friday and Saturday is up to a foot or more of pass level snow. Then we get some rain on snow, which is going to make things really sloppy. And then we're going to get some snow by the end on Sunday. Through the weekend, these are the planned lifts to be operating. But remember, this is just best case scenario with the wind. Some on Friday and absolutely on Saturday. I'm expecting some of these lifts. It all depends on their construction. Is it a detachable quad? Is it a very exposed ridge? Some of these things will limit lift operations if the winds are gusting as strong as we expect them to. So expect changes during the day as far as what they're able to keep open or not, all related to wind and wind safety as well. I wanted to stop with this last one here before we wrap it up. We've got good conditions in Tahoe today. It's going to be a rain-snow mix in the beginning, rain at lake level for Tahoe. Now, for the resorts, it's likely going to be snow, at least mid-mountain and up, and a rain-snow mix at the bottom during the middle of the day. But remember, this is a warmer storm on Sunday, and then after that, the temperatures come crashing down, and we're looking at more snow. So if you're a powder hound, I would focus on maybe if you can work it out sometime next week. I think the conditions will be a lot better. But hey, we're getting snow, exactly what we need, because it's been a while, and it's all looking up and up this weekend and beyond.